Hi guys, welcome to night 7 of my 13 nights of Halloween. Today I have 5 horror anthology recommendations for you. If you've been around for a minute, especially this month, you've heard me gush about how I adore short horror stories and horror anthologies. So I figured I would bring to you 5 of the horror anthologies I've read the most or I'm obsessed about, and I think you would like it too. I have something for different types of horror fans, so I hope you find at least one good recommendation that you can incorporate into, your bite-sized horror repertoire. These are in no particular order at all. I like them all just the same. So let's get to it. A book that I had never read before, and I just accidentally found through Book Outlet because it was on sale for $5 or $6 hardcover, and the cover was amazing. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And that is We Are Where the Nightmares Go and Other Stories by C. Robert Cargill. And oh my goodness, this was such a fun compilation. There's things for everyone. There's fantasy, there's horror, there's scary, there's a mix of everything. We talk about zombies and ghosts as an entity. So there's literally a story for everyone. And as with each anthology, I'll just mention what my favorite one is. And for this particular book, it so happens to be the titular story. In it, we follow this little girl who finds herself almost in this nightmare world. And at each child that finds their way there, they get this tour guide, which is a creepy clown. And even though the clown can tell them the answers for everything, they stay together. And the point is, if you can find your way out of this nightmare, you are safe. But if not, you're gonna belong there forever. This gave me major Labyrinth vibes. I don't know if you watched the 80s classic with Jennifer Connelly and David Bowie. I adore that, and there's always those puzzles and things, and the girl that we follow is really cheeky and we really root for her, and there's like this bigger kind of loom and gloom possibility that she might not make it, and as she goes through her maze or what have you, you see other kids that have been festering there forever. So it was haunting in a very fantastical way. I definitely enjoy that, and I definitely recommend both the anthology and especially read that story. Next, I have The Music of Murder and Other Crimes of a Strange and Bloody Nature, written by Kurt Newton. In this, we have 2 novellas that sandwich a bunch of short stories in it. Some are really short, like 3 or 4 pages long, as it happens to be my favorite one in the whole bunch. Anatomy of a Betrayal. It read as a classic horror story, very Frankenstein, a little bit of Lovecraft. It was short and intense, and I kid you not, I still think about it to this day. And I really liked the places Kurt Newton, he really shines in short stories. They encompass like the things that I love the most, especially some with the ambiguous ending. I actually prefer his shorter stories in here than even the novellas that read more like a thriller. But oh my God, I highly recommend. It's an easy read, and the cover, as you can see, is just stunning. Like, it doesn't get better than black, white, and red. Am I right? Next, I have an interesting one. I've been thinking and going back and forth. It's kind of the fantasy, but I consider them a horror story, so I'm going to include them here because I've been reaching out to them since the age of 8 when I discovered this children's encyclopedia that my grandfather used to have called Treasures of Youth. And in it, there was many amazing things. And apparently to the 1920s, 1930s kids, because my grandpa was very old, they weren't afraid to show fairy tales as they really were written. And I'm talking here about the Grimm stories. The Complete Grimm's Fairy Tales by the Grimm brothers is what I have here, but any anthology or compilation that has my favorite tale, Cinderella, you good to read. These will haunt you. I'm happy that I read them at a younger age in a way, so it wasn't as shocking for me. I wasn't as attached to the other ones. I was able to get both like the Disney Americanized version and the true one and see them for what they are. But Cinderella is really horrific. If you've never read as it was originally written, that's the kind of things that can give you nightmares, but also really makes you think and cheer. Because let's just say that Wicked Sisters really do get Jews delivered on a silver platter. So if you haven't read these original tales, I highly recommend them. And there are so many compilations of these stories out there. You can take your pick. You most likely will find them very cheap at book outlet if you have them there, or any used bookstore, online or in person. Seriously, go check them out if you haven't. Next, I have a new favorite. I found this author through Nakia's channel. You know, she's one of my favorite booktubers. Her, as well as this author's YouTube channels, will be linked down below for you to go check them out and offer them as much support you can. They are amazing, and I can't gush enough about them. But thanks to Nakia, I found the wonderful Cameron Chaney, and I'm talking about Autumn Crow in here. So you get to support in the author and a booktuber. I mean, it's a win-win. And to top it all, not only is he the nicest, he can write. Guys, I was really worried about getting this. So when Akia and Rachel, also link her channel down below, said good things about both him and this short story compilation, I was like, okay, I'll check it. So basically we follow characters in Autumn Crow Valley, where every night is Halloween. We have 8 short stories in here. One was previously published as a novella, but they all kind of connect through the world building. I loved his stories. He has a very easy to read narrative. His pacing is amazing. I like how he develops the characters, even though these are short stories, and he can really voice and put in the mindset of children or teenagers or younger. They are not infantilized. They are actually like true to real life. So I really honestly appreciate it, to the point that I think a younger audience can also read this book. I think it is fun, witty, light, horrific as well, but wholesome. This is kind of like the perfect book for you to have as a family tradition to read together or talk about and revisit each year leading up to Halloween. But don't get me wrong, this is also a book that can be read year-round. I highly recommend it, and my favorite story is Burnt Brownie. Oh, it was just so beautiful and haunting, and you get to know the characters and you feel what they feel at the same time. But I really appreciated how the narrative flowed organically. I'm not going to say anything else. because I don't want to spoil anyone, even though these are short stories. But I loved the story from beginning, middle, end, and everything in between, as I did the book. So, support. Next, I have Come Join Us by the Fire by Teresa DeLucci. This is a Tor Nightfire audiobook collection. There are 35 short stories by the best names in horror, like Cassandra Clare, Stephen Graham Jones, Paul Tremblay, you name it. They wrote a story for this. And you know where it gets better? It's free for everyone. I'm linking down below where you can get it for your device, or you can just go to the podcast tab on your Spotify and type Come Join Us by the Fire. You're gonna find it there. I'm talking today about volume 1, but there's also volume 2. And how amazing is it? If you don't mind listening to stories, I highly recommend it, and you don't even have to pay for it. There's time to read it before Halloween too. But I'm just saying, this is a story that is not about dark and horror. It invites you to embrace it. It is like a warm hug. You find stories there because there are so many different writers. They are unique in their own way, and there's something for literally everyone, from the pure horror to the atrocious to the kind of dark humor. Like, honestly, my favorite one, it is Midnight Caller by Stephen Graham Jones, and this was such a hard pick to pick a favorite one, but this one is one that I don't know, I probably have listened to it over 12 times since I first read it. And holy, that is, I don't know, it's Stephen at his best. His sense of humor really shows. This is a dark humor short stories, and we basically follow a final girl after all her friends have been killed, and she knows the killer is following her, and she's gonna be next. But she finds a phone and she's calling 911. So the midnight call is this final girl trying to get, the cops to save her before the killer does. And listen to it. And if you noticed, I said next and not last because I actually have an honorable mention here. This is not a short story collection, but it is a novella, a short story. So I think it might as well be part of a collection. It would be my favorite, but I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I was talking about short, bite-sized horror and I didn't mention Lucretia and the Croons by Victor Laval, because what a wonderful, haunting, scary, emotional story. I love Victor Laval's writing. It is beautiful, it's compelling, it sucks you in, and it really slaps whatever he's trying to sell you on your face. You feel it. His character work is amazing. His narrative is tense, and he always throws in very important social commentary into his works that really, you read these, you are entertained, but you leave with a lot of food for thought. And in this, we follow Lucretia, and her best friend Sunny goes missing. So Lucretia is determined to go find her, even if it means sneaking her way into apartment 6D that everybody doesn't talk about, doesn't go there. There's some lore that goes into it, and it's kind of like a portal into a shadowland that she's convinced Sunny ended up in. So it's a story about innocence and companionship and friendship and relentlessness and caring for each other, but also very dark and scary things, and how sometimes reality can be more frightening to children than the fantastical would be. It's like amazing, beautiful story. If you want to take away anything you want to start with just one in order collection, I highly recommend this. I think everybody should read it at least once in their lives. And that's it. Hope it was short. I will see you again tomorrow, hopefully. And until next time, be the hummingbird.